One of the decisions I made living in Thailand was that I wasn't going to buy a car. I wasn't even going to rent a scooter. And at first, that probably sounds like I'm giving something up. Because where I come from, having your own vehicle is almost synonymous with freedom. You turn 16, get your driver's license, and from that point forward, the car becomes part of your life. You drive to work, you drive to the grocery store, you drive to restaurants, you drive to see your friends. In many places, you can't really participate in society without one. But living in Thailand has made me question something I never really questioned before. How much does that freedom actually cost us? Because the price of a car isn't just the price you pay at the dealership. There's the car itself, the interest if you finance it, insurance, fuel, maintenance, repairs, tires, registration, and parking. And eventually, you replace the car and you start the whole process over again. Now, take all of those expenses and stress them across 40 or 50 years of an adult life. Depending on what you drive, how often you replace it, and how much you use it, it's possible to spend 700,000 to more than $1 million over a lifetime keeping yourself in vehicles. Think about that number for a minute. Because now compare it with what an ordinary person might earn during an entire working lifetime. If someone earns somewhere around 2.5 million to 3.5 million dollars before taxes over the course of their career, transportation could potentially consume something approaching a quarter to a third of their lifetime earnings in a high cost, car dependent lifestyle. And remember, your expenses aren't being paid with your gross income. They're being paid with the money that's left after taxes. That's what makes this number so striking. We tend to think about cars in monthly payments: $500 this month, insurance this month, a gas tank this week, new tires this year, a repair next year. Because the expenses arrive separately, we rarely put them all together and ask, how much of my working life am I exchanging for transportation? And that raises an even bigger question. What could that money have done instead? Invested over decades, some of it could have helped fund retirement. It could have helped somebody buy a home, start a business, travel, spend more time with their family, or simply working fewer years. So the automobile doesn't just move people. For many families, it becomes one of the largest financial commitments they'll make throughout their lives. And when millions of households are doing the same thing, this stops being just a personal finance question. It becomes a question about how we're structured society. Think about a traditional small town. You had a main street, a grocery store, a hardware store, a barber, a restaurant, and maybe a pharmacy. People walked from one business to another. Money circulated within the community. Simply being outside meant running into other people. But as communities became increasingly designed around automobiles, everything started to spread further apart. Shopping moved towards highways and major roads. Parking lots become enormous. Businesses become destinations rather than places you naturally pass while walking through town. And here's the part I find very interesting. Every dollar a household has to spend keeping a vehicle on the road is a dollar that can't be spent somewhere else. The car payment, insurance, gas, repairs, replacement vehicles. That money isn't available for a restaurant downtown. It isn't available for the local coffee shop. It isn't available for the hardware store. It isn't available to start your own small business. So when we talk about the cost of car dependency, we shouldn't only talk about what it costs the individual. We should ask what it costs the community. Because if a huge portion of household income is required simply to maintain transportation, that money has to come from somewhere. And small businesses are competing for whatever disposable income remains. Car-oriented development tends to favor businesses that can accommodate cars. Large roads, large signs, drive-throughs, huge parking lots, large shopping centers. Those economics naturally favor larger businesses. The little shop on Main Street isn't just competing against big box stores on pricing. It's competing against an entire transportation system designed to deliver customers directly to that big box store. Now, the car didn't cause every problem facing small towns. Of course, it didn't do that. But I think it's fair to ask whether designing our communities almost entirely around cars help hollow out some of these communities. And there's another cost that's harder to calculate: human interaction. When you walk through a neighborhood, you encounter people. When you take public transportation, you're surrounded by people. When you drive everywhere, you leave your house, enter a private metal box, travel to another parking space, and enter another building. We gain tremendous mobility, but maybe we lost something in the process. And that's one reason living in Thailand has been so interesting for me. It gave me an opportunity to try something completely different. I don't own a car here. I don't rent a scooter. And yet I can still get around. And depending on where I am, I've got trains, buses, motorcycle taxis, regular taxis, ride-hailing services, and my own 2 feet. And suddenly, all those expenses associated with owning a vehicle disappear. There's no car payment, no insurance bill, no registration, no oil change, no tires, no unexpected $1,000 repair, no worrying about where I'm going to park, and no expensive machine sitting somewhere doing absolutely nothing while I'm at home. When I need transportation, I pay for transportation. When I don't need transportation, I'm paying nothing. That's a fundamentally different economic model. Now, somebody will immediately say, okay, don't buy a car, just rent a scooter. And I understand the argument. They're cheap, they're convenient, they're everywhere in Thailand. And for millions of people, they're an incredibly practical form of transportation. But I've decided I don't need one because once again, I have alternatives. And for me, the convenience of having my own scooter doesn't outweigh the additional responsibility and risk that comes with riding one. That's really the point. I'm not replacing one form of vehicle dependency with another. I'm trying to see what life looks like when I don't need to own the transportation at all. Thinking. Public transportation isn't simply a cheaper substitute for a car. It changes the economics of your entire life. We've been taught to associate freedom with having the keys to our own vehicle. And there's certainly freedom in that. You can leave whenever you want, go whenever you want. Nobody gets to tell you when the next bus arrives. But there's another kind of freedom that we don't talk about nearly as much: the freedom of not needing the vehicle in the first place, not needing thousands of dollars tied up in transportation, not needing to work additional hours to make the payment, not worrying about the next repair, not spending decades replacing one depreciating vehicle with another. What if some of that lifetime transportation expense went into investments instead, or starting businesses, or supporting local businesses, or traveling, or retiring earlier? That's real freedom too. And I want to be clear about something. I'm not arguing that cars are evil, and I'm not arguing that everyone should get rid of their vehicle tomorrow. And I'm certainly not claiming that Thailand's transportation system is perfect. It's not. Your experience can be completely different depending on whether you're in Bangkok, Chiang Mai, a smaller town, or rural Thailand. There are absolutely places where owning your own transportation makes life considerably easier. The thing I'm questioning isn't the automobile itself, it's car dependency. There's a massive difference between choosing to own a car because it's useful and living in a society where you effectively have no choice but to own one. So maybe the automobile wasn't the downfall of society. And that's probably too simple. But I do think we should ask, what happened when we designed so much of our society around it? What happened to our small towns? What happened to neighborhood businesses? What happened to public transportation? What happened to our streets? And what happened to the enormous amount of personal wealth that families have spent simply maintaining the ability to get from one place to another? Because when you start to add up the cost over an entire lifetime, we're not talking about a few tanks of gas. We're potentially talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. Money representing years of somebody's working life. Living in Thailand has given me an opportunity to test the alternative. No car payment, no vehicle sitting outside, no scooter rental. I use public transportation. I walk. I pay for a ride when I need one. And when I don't need transportation, it costs me nothing. And here's the strange part: I don't feel less free. I actually feel more free. Which has left me with a question I never expected to ask. Did the automobile give us freedom? Or did we eventually build a society where we have to spend an enormous portion of our lives paying for the thing that was supposed to make us free?